There's a beautiful day headed your way. Keep your head up, up, up. You'll be okay. A beautiful day waiting for you. Just open your eyes. You'll see it's true. Good times, sunshine. Gonna be here in no time now.
Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be doing my 35-week pregnancy vlog for you. Today I am 35 weeks and 1 day pregnant with baby number 4. And I have exactly 4 weeks and 6 days until baby Isabella is due. So that is very, very exciting. It's unreal a little bit that I'm this far in, and I only have 34 days until her due date, which is awesome. And that's if she decides to even hold out that long. I was induced with all 3 of my last pregnancies, so who knows what's going to happen this time. All of my last 3 babies all just wanted to stay in there as long as they possibly could, which is honestly the best thing for them, to stay in the full 40 weeks to make sure they are fully developed. But if she's born, let's see, I'll be 36 weeks this coming Thursday, and then a week after that I will be full term when I hit 37 weeks. So if she comes within the next couple of weeks, she'll be completely fine. Everything will be good with her. But I still would like her to hang out in there just a little bit longer. For 2 main reasons, really. You know, the number 1 reason is because it's, obviously the best thing for the babies is to stay in there as long as they possibly can, to make sure that they are completely developed. They put on all the fat that they need to keep themselves warm when they come out. Their lungs are mature all the way. All the development as far as their body organs and brain and all of that is ready to go. So it's always good for them to stay in as long as they possibly can. And reason number 2 is because I've got family coming in close to the very end of my pregnancy. So I'm hoping that she holds out at least until they get here. And then if she wants to come once they get here, I'm perfectly fine with that. My mom is actually flying in from Kentucky. She's flying in when I turn 38 weeks and 5 days. So she'll be here on August 28th, and I cannot wait for that. I'm so excited. And so, she actually was not present for my last 3 births because, of, other obligations that just kept her from being able to be here. Plus, we live not close to each other. I live in Florida. They live in Kentucky. So we don't see each other as often as we would like to. So she did miss her last 3 grandbabies being born. But she really definitely wants to be here for this one because this is our last baby. Kurt got a vasectomy, my fiance. He got a vasectomy in June, so we are definitely for sure completely done having babies. We feel like 4 is a very good number. We were planning on stopping at 3, but God decided to bless us with 1 more baby, so we are absolutely not complaining. We're completely happy, overjoyed. We can't believe that we're this far in, and we're starting to make plans since I'm very close to my 9th month. Once I hit 9 months, then I call myself being on baby watch, because at that point anything could happen once you hit 9 months. So today I am 35 weeks and I am just so excited. I'm so excited and in shock that I'm this close, and my baby could come within the next couple of weeks even, and she would be perfectly healthy, and I'm just, wow, I can't believe it. Like, my baby could be here within the next 13 or 14 days. It's real. Like, it could seriously happen. I don't think it will, just because I was induced with my last 3 pregnancies. My first baby, I carried her actually 3 weeks over my due date. My due date was July 4th with her, and I did not have her until July 30th. So I carried her a lot over my due date. I did not think I was ever going to have that baby. And trust me, I walked and walked and walked and walked and walked and walked during my last month of pregnancy, and she still didn't come out. But the OB that delivered my first baby is not the OB that's delivering this baby. The one that I have, the OB that I have now, he delivered my last two. He delivered our son, and he delivered our youngest that we have now, our 2-year-old. He delivered those two, and he'll be delivering Miss Isabella very soon. So I can't wait. I'm very excited. I'm just constantly thinking about it now. It's like all I can think about is, what's it going to be like this time? Am I going to go into labor on my own? And, I'm constantly keeping track of how I'm feeling every day, my contractions, if they're getting stronger, just overall feeling like I'm getting close to the end, and anything could happen at this point. So I'm keeping a very close eye on my body, as well as Kurt and my family that's close by. Everyone is keeping close contact with me because we are seriously getting to the end. But as far as my last two babies, I was induced with them as well. But I wasn't diagnosed with Crohn's disease until after my first baby was born. So because of me having the Crohn's disease, my OB that I have now didn't want me to make it all the way to 40 weeks because he doesn't want the baby to get too big to cause any problems with my Crohn's, having me possibly throw me into a flare or being able to have issues delivering. There's so much detail that goes into Crohn's disease, so I'm not going to sit here and bore you guys with all of that information. If you want to get more familiar with it, you can Google Crohn's disease and see for yourself. But that's why he wanted me to have them a little earlier. So with my son, he induced me at 38 weeks and like 5 days, and then with our 2-year-old, he induced me with her at 39 weeks and 4 days. So I was only a few days away from being completely due. But, all of them were completely different. My first baby, I was induced with her obviously 3 weeks over my due date, and I didn't think I was ever going to have that baby. But I got to the hospital at 6:30 in the morning to come in for Pitocin, and once they got me on the Pitocin, started having the contractions, and I got an epidural with her. I made it to 3 centimeters, and I could not take the pain anymore from the contractions. Because Pitocin, for those of you that don't know, if you have an induction and you're given Pitocin to cause you to go into labor and cause you to have contractions, it can be a little more painful. The contractions can be a little stronger than if you were to go into spontaneous labor on your own and just let your body do what it's supposed to do. Pitocin can make your labor a little more difficult. So I made it to 3 centimeters and I couldn't take it anymore. I asked for my epidural. And I pushed for 30 minutes once I made it to 10 centimeters, and she was completely out after 30 minutes, which is, from what I've heard and stories that I've heard and from friends that have been first-time moms, that's pretty fast for a first-time mom. Usually first-time moms will push for 45 minutes to an hour, and sometimes some first-time moms will push for 3 hours. So for me to have her within 30 minutes was amazing. And I remember right after she was born, the doctor looks at me and he goes, "You were born to have babies." You were born to make babies. I'll never forget my doctors saying that to me, and they were completely serious. They just looked me right in the eye and said, "You were born to have babies," because of how fast she came. When I got to the hospital at 6:30 in the morning, from then up until the time she was born, I was in labor for, I want to say, close to 23 or 24. No, let me take it back. 6:30 until 6:30 a.m. and then she was born at 12:01 a.m. the next morning. So I want to say maybe 19 hours, 18 or 19 hours. It was somewhere around those lines. I was in labor with her. But once I had the epidural, I was golden. I was good. My son, I was obviously, like I said, I was induced with him at 38 weeks and 4 days, or 5 days, 38 weeks and 5 days, or 38 weeks and 4 days. It was somewhere around there. He had me come in at 6:30 in the evening for Cervidil. And Cervidil is a cervix ripening agent that they can put on your cervix before they start giving you Pitocin. So they gave me that around I want to say by the time I got to the hospital, got checked in, got in my room and all of that kind of stuff, they started the Cervidil around 7:30ish or around 8 p.m. And I had a bad reaction to the Cervidil for some reason. I don't know if it's normal. I've read other women on forums say that they've had bad reactions from getting Cervidil. But within, I would say, about an hour and a half of them putting that on my cervix, I was in so much pain. I was having, obviously it was making me go into labor because it was making me efface and all of that. And I started having these really, really strong, intense contractions. Oh, and I remember just calling my nurse in and begging her for something because I was in so much pain. And so she called my OB and he said, well, check her and see, where she's at as far as if she's effaced or anything like that. And I was softened a little bit. I was probably about 10 or 20% effaced and close to 1 centimeter at that point. So he went ahead and told her to just take it out. And then they would start Pitocin around midnight. And then at midnight they started the Pitocin drip. And then that's when I got the epidural, because he came in and he told me, he said, you're only 1 centimeter, but if you want to get the epidural now, you can, because you've been here for a few hours. You have to have so much like IV fluids before they will allow you to get your epidural. But I had already been there for like 4.5 hours, so I had already been given enough fluids for them to say, okay, you can go on and get your epidural. So I did. I got it way early, but I'm glad that I did because it was in the middle of the night and I was able to sleep a little bit up until in the morning. And he was not born until 4:27 the next day, 4:27 in the afternoon the next day. So I was in labor with him for a good, 18 or 19 hours, I think. 6:30 p.m. to, oh gosh. So yeah, it was a good, actually 21 hours, because I was almost close to the 24-hour mark. So his labor was pretty long. And then with my 2-year-old daughter, that labor was completely different. My best friend Summer flew in around 38 weeks. It was right before I got induced. And her and I just decided to try some natural induction methods. I tried eating fresh pineapple. I tried eating spicy food. I tried licorice, because that's also known to, cause you to soften a little bit or efface or something like that. So I tried eating a ton of licorice. I drank cinnamon stick tea. I've tried that theory. I drank raspberry leaf tea. Let's see, I walked and walked and walked and walked. We got in the car and drove over bumpy roads and all this other stuff. We tried everything to get me to go into labor. And no, it wasn't happening. So she actually, and we still laugh about this today. She flew in and she was here for about 11 days. So she flew in around, she flew in right when I turned around 38 weeks, and then I was induced at 39 weeks and 4 days. So she went home. She had to fly home literally the day before I went to get induced, or like 2 days before. I mean, it was just like, are you kidding me? But, so we still laugh about that today. Like, I can't believe how close I was to actually having her, and she had to go home. She missed it, so she was pretty pissed, and I was upset too. But, it is what it is. You can't plan for your baby's births. They're going to come when they're ready. The OB called me in to come in around, I think it was 6:30 in the morning as well with her. I got to the hospital at 6:30 in the morning, and they started, they do a cervical check first when you first get to the hospital to see if you're dilated at all or effaced. And I was actually close to 2 centimeters. So whatever Summer and I was doing as far as trying to naturally induce myself was helping. I think it was slowly getting me there, and I truly believe that if I had not have been induced, I probably would have gone into labor on my own within the next day or few days, I think, because of how dilated that I was. And, oh my gosh, Isabella's going nuts in my stomach right now. So I got to the hospital at 6:30 in the morning. They got me into the room. By the time I got into the room and get checked in, get your armbands, get your IV, and all of that kind of stuff, it takes a good hour and a half to 2 hours sometimes for them to completely get you in your room and ready to go on the drip. So it was around 8:30 when they came in to check me. The nurse that admitted me to the hospital, she checked me first, and she said, I think you're about 1, but I'm going to have him come in and check you now. So he came in to check me, and he said, well, you're actually closer to 2 centimeters. So he said, well, because you're dilated some, we don't have to do the Cervidil on you this time. So I was spared from that at this time. But I wanted to see how far I could go this time without having my epidural. I wanted to wait until closer to the end of my labor if I could. So they started my Pitocin drip, and that was around probably 9 a.m. when they started the Pitocin. And then, you know, I was doing good up until, I want to say, I want to say about 3:30 that afternoon. And I had noticed that my contractions just completely jumped from, you know, these are painful, but I'm doing okay, to, oh my God, I cannot breathe. I'm in so much pain. These contractions hurt so bad. I can't even focus between contractions. They were just coming on top of each other so fast. So like it just jumped to, holy crap, this is really, really hurting really bad. And so I requested my epidural at that point, because at that point I was only about 5 centimeters, between 4 and a 5 centimeter mark. And so the anesthesiologist came in to give me the epidural, and then once he got it in, I kept telling the nurses, it was like 20 minutes later, I kept telling the nurses, I'm not feeling numb at all. This epidural is not working. I'm in so much pain right now. It's getting worse. And then I swear to God, I thought my butt was going to fall off. My right butt cheek started hurting so bad. I will never forget that. It hurt so bad. And so they checked me and they said, oh my gosh, you're 10 centimeters. So in 20 minutes, I went from 5 centimeters to 10 centimeters in 20 minutes, and I was ready to push. So my epidural just did not have time to completely, fully kick in. So, you know, I ended up having pretty much a natural birth with her because I wasn't numb. So I got my epidural way too late, but her labor was so fast. Like I said, I started the Pitocin at 9 a.m. and she was born at 4:23 that afternoon. So I was in labor like, oh gosh, let's see, like 7, maybe 7.5 to 8 hours with her, and she was born. So I mean, that labor and delivery was so fast, and it was so different from my last 2, you know, my previous 2 before that. And I was just like, yeah. So I really believe that what Summer and I was doing to naturally induce me was working. But this time, you know, I don't know what's going to happen this time. I kind of just expect myself to be induced again, because I have the same doctor, and I know he's going to not let me go to complete 40 weeks. But, you know, you never know. I mean, every labor and delivery is different, and every pregnancy is different. So we'll see what happens. Now, I know everything's been pretty quiet as far as the pregnancy goes, except that she's just getting bigger each week. It's been pretty quiet up until like last week. Last Saturday, we had some friends over for dinner, and I was on my feet all day prepping food, and I probably wasn't drinking enough water, and I wasn't taking as many breaks as I probably should have. And then that night around 11 p.m. I noticed that I started having contractions. And I've been having Braxton Hicks contractions, which are normal. Braxton Hicks contractions are just practice contractions. It's just your body prepping yourself and prepping your uterus for the big day, for the real contractions that are actually going to dilate you. Braxton Hicks contractions do not efface you. They do not dilate you at all. You know, they're not strong enough to. But, you know, Saturday night I noticed that I started having these a little bit more stronger, intense contractions. And I was up all night long Saturday with these contractions because they were coming. They weren't completely consistent. They were coming like 4 minutes, 8 minutes, 12 minutes, 3 minutes, 2 minutes, you know. So they were just all over the place, but I had them all night long from 11 p.m. until 7 a.m. Now, if they hadn't have stopped at 7 a.m., I was just going to go on into labor and delivery and have them check me out, make sure everything was good. But as soon as 7 a.m. hit, they completely stopped. I didn't have another one all day long. So I was like, okay, I don't know what that was, but it obviously wasn't labor because it completely stopped. Now they tell you if you have 4 or more contractions an hour that are lasting a minute long, then you need to come into labor and delivery and get checked out. These were only lasting about 45 seconds, so they weren't completely, I knew they weren't legit contractions, but I just couldn't understand why I was having so many of them all night long. But, they stopped, and then Sunday morning I went to the bathroom, and after using the bathroom I wiped, and I noticed that I had lost just a little tiny piece of my mucus plug. It wasn't the whole thing because it wasn't bloody. When you lose your mucus plug, it's usually like tinged with blood or it's bloody because that's what they call your bloody show. But I just lost a chunk of it. But I've read that it can regenerate itself as well if you lose it a little earlier on before you're due. So I just, chalked it up to that because of all the contractions that I had, maybe it softened my cervix a little bit, and I just lost part of it, So I had my 35-week pregnancy appointment yesterday, and I did let my doctor know about all the contractions that I had over the weekend, and he said he would have checked me if I really wanted him to, just to see if I was effaced or dilated. But since I didn't have any bleeding or anything going on because of all the contractions, he really didn't want to stir the pot, basically, is what he said. And actually cause me to have legit contractions. So he said, when you come back next week at 36 weeks, then if I continue having the contractions like I've been, he's not against checking me next week, because next week they're actually going to be doing my Group B strep test, which they have to swab your lady parts down below. So I'll already be on the table anyway. So he's like, if you want me to check you next week just to see if there's anything going on, I'm okay with that. Going weekly now. I was going every 2 weeks. But starting next week at 36 weeks, I'll go next Thursday, and then I'll go every Thursday after that to the doctors. Up until Miss Isabella decides to make her debut, or I get a phone call from the doctor saying, okay, we need you to go to the hospital on this day and let's induce you. I'm pretty much at the end, you guys. I'm just waiting. I pretty much feel like I'm just waiting now to get through the next few weeks and just have her, My body is slowly giving me signs that things are going to be happening soon, I think, between all the contractions that I've been having, and then also I'm having like some pelvic pain and my tailbone. I notice if I sit down too long and then I go to get up or sit back down, my tailbone hurts. It was hurting pretty bad last night. It's okay right now, but so it comes and goes, but I'm feeling that now, and my hips are starting to spread. I can feel that every now and again, my hips. If I lay on one side in bed for too long, then when I go to shift my weight, I notice that hurts. Getting out of bed is definitely uncomfortable. I'm getting up about 3, 4, sometimes 5 times a night now to go pee. Yeah. And also the cervix pain that most women get towards the very end of pregnancy is happening. It's not constant, but I will feel her start squirming in there sometimes, and she will hit my cervix, and oh my gosh. It just feels like, it doesn't last long. It's usually just a couple seconds, but it is the most sharp, intense shooting pain in my cervix. It just hurts. And then my cervix aches for a little bit right after that. But, so my body is giving me signs that it's going to happen soon. He is in a head down position, kind of, but he said from where her heartbeat was and because of how active she was still, that she's still squirming in there a little bit. So she was kind of like sideways. Like I feel her feet all the time up under my right rib cage. I'll feel her just jab me real fast in in the right rib cage there. So I know her feet are kind of up here, and then she's kind of laying across my stomach like this. And her head is more towards my left thigh. You're right, my left. But starting next week, they'll start doing the external feelings to see where she's laying and, you know, get a more ideal picture of, you know, if she's going to be going into position soon, because she is head down, but she's not completely engaged in my pelvis yet. So I feel like in my heart that my body's giving me all these symptoms and signs that, okay, she's going to be coming very soon, and then I'm going to go until 40 weeks and I'm just going to get induced again. So we'll see what happens, but either way, I am so excited. I cannot wait to meet this baby girl, and I'm so glad and overjoyed that we finally made it this far. And now we're just waiting. We're just waiting. That's pretty much all we're doing at this point. We're just waiting for her now. The house is pretty much completely ready. I have been nesting really hard lately. I told you guys a few vlogs back that the nesting instinct really wasn't this strong this pregnancy, and I was just kind of okay with the house being tidy. You know, it didn't have to be perfect, but like last week the nesting instinct completely kicked in full gear, and I've been cleaning out all my cabinets and cleaning them out and organizing everything and getting her room, and she's sharing a room. She's going to be sharing a room with our youngest, our 2-year-old daughter, but you know, I've been getting their room rearranged, and I'm moving things around, and I'm cleaning behind stuff, and I'm going through things that have been sitting there, you know, for a while, and I'm just like, I'm touching and tidying and cleaning and organizing every inch of my house. You know, it's just a woman's natural response to get the house ready, like, you know, tidying the nest and getting it ready for the baby and making sure everything is perfect, because if you're stressed out and you feel like you are not ready to have the baby, then you're not going to go into labor. But if you feel like you're stress-free and everything is done, no baby, everything is done, and you feel like, okay, she can come now and everything's ready for her. We're just waiting for her, you know, and just try to stay as calm as possible. No, baby. Then, you know, your body will do what it needs to do. Oh, hi.
Hi.
She's got a scratch right here because,
Hi.
yeah, we have 2 cats, and she's been tugging on their hair lately, and they're not liking it, so they finally gave her a warning to leave them alone. So I'm sorry about that, but she's got a little scratch on her face. There you go, baby. So I'm going to do a quick belly shot for you guys, because I didn't do one last time in my last video. So I will do that real quick, and then I'm going to let you guys go. No, baby.
Thank you.
So there's with the shirt down from the side.
Wow.
And here's with the shirt up. She's really moving right now. Maybe you guys can see that too while I'm doing the belly shot. See her squirming in there. But there's from the side. My belly feels more like pushed out this week. So she's grown a lot since my last video. Here's from the front. No stretch marks still, no new ones anyway. Alright, you guys, that was it. That was the 35-week baby bump. And I will see you guys for my next video. Give me a thumbs up if you like the video. And subscribe if you want to subscribe and keep up to date with me, because I am planning to document my labor and delivery. We'll see, depending on how fast it goes. But I plan on bringing my camera and my tripod to the hospital with me. So we'll see what happens. And thanks so much for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.